Welcome to the Future.Bible podcast, where you'll hear profiles of individuals and Bible-inspired organizations making a difference in the digital world. In each episode, we'll bring you stories of innovation, advancement, and real-life change. Are you ready? Let's get to today's episode.
Hey, welcome friends. This is Kenny Jang, host of the Future.Bible program, and I've got my other host right next to me, luckily side by side, physically in the same location, DJ Trong in the house. Welcome, DJ.
Thank you. Thanks for the warm welcome, and that makes us co-hosts.
Oh, that's right.
Rather than host and host,
Host and
co-host.
Host the host, co-host, co-host.
And we still look like we're side by side on the screen, but we're actually like physically together.
Which is quite different than our normal interactions on this podcast.
Yeah, means I can smell and not just hear and see.
Another sense.
Yeah.
Well, we are here together in Anaheim for good purpose. Why don't you tell our listeners what we are doing here at the Anaheim Convention Center?
Yes, this year's National Religious Broadcasting International Christian Media Industry Convention is here in Anaheim. Usually it's in Nashville, and we are here representing the American Bible Society and the .Bible Registry, which is a brand new top-level domain on the internet that allows you to have a stronger brand and a memorable web address that ends in .Bible. So instead of the .com or .org, and there's .network and .media, but there's .church and then there's .Bible. And there's no stronger word that provokes an emotional engagement than the word Bible, right?
Right. Of course.
Use that for your advantage.
To your advantage. So we are here with about 2,500 other people this week. And then, just side note, tomorrow is the start of WonderCon in the same space. We've been warned by the leadership here that we should witness well tomorrow. Be on our best behavior, as it's basically like a Comic-Con, right?
It's another iteration of Comic-Con. It's a whole family of different conferences, and this one's called WonderCon.
So we've got a large Comic-Con-like conference, but this is the largest Christian media conference in the country, convening people from the radio, television, and new media industries, and that's why we're here. And so,
That's right.
excited.
Oh, and film.
And film.
Film is a big deal. So every day they have one or two screenings of brand new films that are coming out. So that's very exciting, and they just had a big announcement last night, Kingdom Coming or something, is like a whole new studio kind of thing. And even though I've come to this conference, 3 or 4 years now?
6 for me.
I still haven't figured out this whole industry thing, because it's pretty complicated.
Absolutely.
It's not quite like the internet where they have rules and regulations, although they probably do, but it's just much more layered and nuanced than my little brain can handle.
Well, I can tell you at the end of the day, it is fun meeting a lot of these people and learning about the projects that are coming out to the public in the months ahead, for sure.
Yes.
Now, one of the things I'd love to talk about today is just to give a highlight in terms of foreshadowing what's coming down the pike. Some of the themes that we've seen in this conference, I have 2 in particular that I've picked up on, and I'd love to hear your thoughts, DJ, because you've got eagle eyes also from a futurist pattern recognition point of view. But one, I'll just start today's discussion is I'm seeing pickup on the VR AR front, which I did not expect walking into this conference in particular. But in the faith-based space, it seems like there has been some significant traction on this front. In fact, the booth we're sitting right behind us is a VR immersive experience. There's one right in front of us. We're looking at another one where there's a VR experience about the 7 different miracles of Jesus, and then there's 1 or 2 others in this exhibit hall as well. I'm actually pretty surprised. What about you? Is that something that you expected, or is catching you off guard that there's so much technology development in this space or surrounding Bible study, etc.?
Yeah, now that you mention it, it is quite a surprise. And I know, I think because this is a conference that's been around for 75 years, there's a lot of institutional history and there's a lot of investment. And so the digital aspect of this industry isn't quite where we swim in.
Yes.
And so one of the other things that I've noticed is just how new podcasting is
Yes.
to this media world.
Have you heard about podcasting? We have to get started on podcasting.
Yeah.
It seems like they're almost so. This conference is broken into different verticals, right? Television industry, radio. It seems like every vertical is talking about podcasting somehow. There's speakers on the agenda in almost every corner, including the Digital Media Summit itself.
Yeah. Tell us about the Digital Media Summit. It's
Yes.
happening tomorrow.
Yeah, so there's.
Although when we're going to show this video, it's going to be when?
It'll be after tomorrow.
Yeah, so we're recording this before on the eve of the Digital Media Summit.
So NRB is a multi-day experience. One of the days typically has been dedicated to a summit surrounding digital media. The Digital Media Summit this year is on the last day of the conference, Friday. So we're anticipating what's going to happen tomorrow. But basically we've got an agenda, morning and afternoon sessions full of speakers on various topics. I'm actually excited to be part of the Digital Media Summit this year because I think the speakers that they've curated this year is much more contemporary and upfront than in years past, in particular. And we actually know a bunch of the speakers personally, and so it's going to be a fun day. It's going to be a fun day.
And I hear you're going to have a front row seat.
Yes, I've been asked. It's an honor. I've been asked by the committee to MC the entire day, and so that's the question of what's going to happen throughout the day if we can keep the show on track, keep everyone comfortable, safe and sound, and get them out the door when they need to.
Yeah, very cool.
So,
you said you had two things you noticed.
Well, second one was podcasting.
I took one of yours.
So
Well, there you go.
And there must be a third. I wonder what the third. There was a third I was thinking of before, but it escapes my mind right now. So,
Okay.
VR technology,
Yeah.
I think that's really interesting. The podcasting, I think, is interesting. I do think podcasting is something that is taking advantage of the publishing arbitrage that our generation culture right now, for the moment, definitely is having. If you go back and listen to the interview that we had with Rob Walsh of Libsyn, which is a major or the largest podcasting directory platform out there, he talks about, if you recall, the fact that there isn't a comeback or a rise of podcasting. There's just this historic, slow, linear rise of
Continuous growth. Yeah.
Right. It hasn't been up and down. It hasn't been a yo-yo. But it just seems that the news cycle keeps bringing it back to make it sound like it's either a new thing or it's a recurring thing, which I find humorous, that people discover it once in a while and it becomes the forefront.
Yeah, I think it's related to what we're experiencing in .com. That it takes a good number of years for something to get to mainstream and awareness. So I know you and me, because of Kenny's prodding, we started the podcast in 2012 called Social Media Church.
Oh yeah, I mean I didn't do anything.
That
you did all the
was
work.
very very early when podcasting was still kind of like, what is that, blah blah blah, and then I think it accelerated
Yes.
when smartphones and 4G came on the scene, because then you just stream the podcast instead of downloading and syncing and all the awkward things you used to have to do. Well, .Bible just launched in March of 2016, and as we talk now, it's March of 2019. It's only 3 years into
3 years.
it. So it feels like it's going to take 5 or 6 years to really hit our stride. And so thank you for being interested in what we're a part of the conversation. And we would love to tell your stories of how .Bible makes a difference.
Now, one of the things that has been encouraging is that we've been meeting with other potential partners, vendors here, exhibitors, and we come across one or two that have already purchased the .Bible before even the need to introduce it, educate them, etc. That's been refreshing, that the work that we've been doing so far for the last couple of years is now at a point where it's preceding the steps that we're taking in meeting new people.
Yes, and so rather than just saying, hey, buy a .bible domain, buy a .bible domain, hey, tell a friend. Tell a friend about .bible and that the internet has expanded. And just that would be a real helpful thing to stay on the leading edge of what's happening, as well as being a partner with us.
Right.
Yeah.
So I recall now the third trend, which is actually I don't know how to classify it. It's either a negative trend or an absence of thing. The pattern recognition I found here is, I'm surprised coming to the conference this year in particular that there aren't more vendors or talk about social media advertising. We've gotten to a point where organic reach for most organizations have plummeted down to close to Facebook zero, as we call it, and that the education in the market is pretty up to date and current, that the expectations for most nonprofit people that we've been talking to today understand that you're not going to get, if you got 34, we were talking to Jesus Daily, right? The Jesus Daily group, that there's 34 million followers on Facebook, but there's all these disclaimers that keeps on saying that, look, that doesn't mean I'm getting 34 million impressions on any content I put down. In fact, it's much less. So the education is caught up. Yet there isn't that much talk here or resourcing or platforming of speakers who are talking about how to use paid advertising to the advantage. And you would think that this industry in particular would eat that up, or that's a sore need for them.
It is a sore need, and I think the biggest things that the industry is aware of and is tackling is distribution,
yes,
and marketing. So the industry does know they have to spend a lot of money on marketing. I have a piece of paper behind this laptop right now that's for a new movie that's coming out in a couple weeks, and it says $500,000 they're going to spend on marketing.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what $500,000 or you know what $100,000 can do with digital marketing?
A lot.
And they're willing to spend $500,000 on print and radio and this other thing that just kind of fizzles. Unbelievable.
It's unbelievable, absolutely. One of the other things that I noticed, which was interesting, is there's at least 2 companies that I know that are exhibiting here that are pre-launch phase for a new social network. I wonder if you'd love to talk about that. It's interesting to see that there is this recurring, and we see it keep on popping up over the years, that there are other innovators out there, entrepreneurs, trying to build walled gardens for social media that Christians can actually populate and congregate amongst themselves.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on that?
I'm surprised, and it confounds me. The variety and the diversity of faith-based initiatives that this convention gathers. So it's not just a wide theological spectrum, there's a wide variety of how people live and present their faith. And so some of them come once and we don't see them again. And with these, I still have a difficult time seeing what the next social network is going to be.
Yeah. Now, one thing I think that's interesting to note, I don't know if you noticed this, is I actually was fortunate enough for you to introduce me to 1 or 2 of them at the show. And as I discussed their business model and the reasons and the feature benefits that they offered potential users, what's interesting this time around, I think, is a reflection of our culture and society that the tip of the sword for both was related to censorship and freedom to be able to discuss your own political views in a safe manner. And so I found that interesting, that this reincarnation of this idea of we need a walled garden for Christians to talk to each other without disturbance from the outside world. This time, the problem, the pain point that they're trying to solve with this walled garden is a safe place that we can have, I guess it's almost like religious liberty or political liberty in saying whatever we want, which, as you know, Facebook has gotten into hot waters for, because that has caused a lot of trouble for Facebook users.
And actually, that fits the history of this National Religious Broadcasters. That
absolutely,
it came out of a conviction and a desire to pool their best practices to make sure that religious freedom would be maintained on the air with radio and television. And now we're kind of come full circle again. Now it's a thing on the internet that we want that freedom of religion and how we practice to be freely shared. Yeah,
I mean the name of the conference is called Proclaim, right? It's harking back to the original purpose of why we're gathering here as Christian communicators. So that is interesting. I thought that's a fourth little nugget, pattern recognition here.
Yeah, the thought that came to my mind, I'll conclude this way. I think there's cheaper ways to do that than to launch a social network. But that's just me. I like to do things on the cheap.
So, and not just cheaper, but there are existing resources out there. Can you accomplish the same goals with things that are freely available as well? So, what do you think? We'd love to hear your comments because this is a big discussion topic, potentially. Please put your comments below. We'd love to hear from you, direct message or in the comments, of what your thoughts are on this type of topic of religious freedom, political freedom in social media. Is there a need for us to have a walled garden for faith-based people of faith to be able to talk to each other about these types of issues in a circumstance where there's no censorship, there's no moderation, and what are the upsides and downsides of that type of scenario? We'd love to have you comment below and let us know what your thoughts are, if that resonates with you or if not. I think from just a polling point of view, from a focus group point of view, I'd be very curious what our listeners actually think about these type of resources that are popping up again. So it sounds like that it's time to wrap up the show today.
Yes.
Do you have any parting words or thoughts as we close out the second to last day here at NRB in Anaheim?
Well, it's been great to be with you again in Anaheim this time, and the weather's been great. The new environment has been fun, and
a shout out to the rest of our team. We've got Pat Walker here, one of the best from headquarters all the way in Philadelphia, flew out and did a fantastic job taking care of you and me and making sure we're in line, keeping us in order. The Dot Bible team really has fun when we are traveling out and about, meeting you guys, the people of the interwebs, as we call it, so that you turn from internet friends to IRL, in real life friends here as well. So,
and I'm really looking forward to the after show after the Digital Media Summit, and to tell you all the conversation that emerged out of that.
Absolutely. We'll have to do a recap episode after the Digital Media Summit. So thank you again for everybody to chime in the comments below, and thank you for following along the journey and listening to this episode and the rest of them. If you have any questions, and I'll just do this one call out. If you go to our website, future.bible, you can get access to exclusive interviews that we've had with most of the speakers that will be speaking on Friday at the Digital Media Summit. So if you don't want to pay $800-900 for a ticket, you got access to the speakers on our website at future.bible. DJ, thanks for being with me today.
Hey, great being with you always.
So we'll check you out here next time here on the Future.Bible podcast.
Thank you for joining us today. If you enjoyed today's session, please help us share this podcast with your friends, colleagues, and family members. You can do that by leaving a review on iTunes or by sharing our website, www.future.bible, with your network. Don't forget to join us next week for the next episode of the Future.Bible podcast.